Okay. Oh wow, it's not even showing up. That's silly.
Yeah, except it's not contagious in dogs.
Okay.
Because when my dog yawns, I suddenly have to yawn.
So just as a quick review, let's make that a little thicker.
Wait, are we ready to start like our note sheet?
Yeah, wherever you take notes.
What should we title this? Yeah, there's no place to take notes.
Yeah, so just start it on another sheet and just like honestly staple it onto the back if you wish of the packet.
Just review.
Review. Man, why is my pencil not happy today?
I like the pencil.
Yeah, honestly, the perfect tense is probably my favorite tense in Latin because it's so easy.
Really?
Yes, 100%. It's easy to recognize, it's easy to translate, and it's easy to form the forms. Because essentially, it's just the third principal part.
The ISVX thing. No, V sucks.
V sucks, yep, that's exactly how. Okay, so let's talk about it.
Oh!
Right, okay, so quick review to kind of bring us back to what we were doing before break. So the perfect tense has a set of endings. What are those endings? Do you remember?
V sucks.
No, those are tense markers to help you identify. So perfect endings. Now it's going to be a little messy. But come on, pencil, work.
Maybe if you screw the tip on, because sometimes the tip almost comes off, and
Good point.
it's a lot harder to control that way.
Okay. Maybe that'll do it. E. Do you remember the next one? Isti.
It's not. Oh.
Oh, this.
Mm-hmm.
This, and
Good. Mm-hmm. And it's been a while. Okay. Now, when conjugating in the perfect tense, which principal part do you need? The third, right. So let's take a pretty basic example from our vocab list. Let's use lawo. Okay, to wash. All right. Now, if I were to conjugate this in the imperfect tense, which principal part would I need? The second principal part, right? The infinitive. Okay, but in the perfect tense, we need our third principal part. Okay, so let's go ahead and conjugate in the perfect tense really quickly. Let's just do it very basically. What's the first form that I'm going to write here for I washed?
Lava.
Yep, it's just the principal part. They've given you the answer. Okay, so lawawi. Okay, next. Lawawisti. Next. Mm-hmm. And you see how easy this is?
yeah.
Is it always like this? Like organized?
In the perfect tense, absolutely. Lawav. Imus. Istis. Yep. Okay, and that's it. All right, right? That's how you conjugate in the perfect tense. Okay, so the endings are going to be super important. Okay, and what else is important? How do I recognize a perfect tense? Like, what's the stem going to have in it? What are those consonants that we, or,
V, S, U, S.
yeah, you see a V, an S, a U, or an X. All right, there are some that don't have that, some of them that are slightly irregular, but most of them will have these in the stem. So with respect to lawo laware, lawawi lawatus, what's the marker there? What tells me it's perfect?
V.
Yep, the V. Each form has a V. Okay, you see how that works?
Yep.
Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, I'm going to give you one verb to do on your own. Beep, boop, bop. Okay. All right, so write out the 4 principal parts. And then conjugate it for me in the perfect tense. But you don't have to give me translation. Okay. Did everyone get a chance?
Oh yeah.
Almost there? Okay.
I'm doing the main one.
Right. Actually, Tiff, can you flip the lights for me if you're done?
Okay.
Thank you. Is that better?
Much better.
I missed the light the first time I tried to hit it.
Huh?
Yeah, like when you try to like touch something, but you touch like next to it, so I didn't actually hit the light the first time.
Fair. Okay. So going through this now, someone talk me through it. Who'd like to tell me what to do? Let's pretend I got hit with some blunt force trauma on the head and I'm forgetting how to teach Latin. Someone remind me, what am I supposed to do? Hey, Caitlin, can you guide me? I'm confused.
So you take the third principal part, which is Dixie, and then, so you use that as the first one.
Okay. And then what do I do?
You just add the end.
And what's my stem?
Dix.
Yep, D-I-X, exactly. Okay, so what's my second person singular, Annabelle?
Oh, second person. Dix is T.
Good, Dixisti. What's my third person singular, Jason?
Dixie.
Yeah?
Dixie. Dixie.
Yep, just Dixit, yep. Okay, what's my first person plural, David?
Dixons.
Good. What's my second person plural, Lisa?
Dixie's.
Good. And what's my third person plural, Tiff?
Dix.
Good. Mm-hmm, correct. Dixerun. Okay, and what is the marker that tells me that this is perfect? What letter does it have that?
X.
Yep, they've each gotten an X in it. So that tells me that those are all perfect forms also. Okay, does this ring a bell? All right, in terms of translation, what tense is the perfect if you were to equate it to English.
Complete.
So it's completed action, yep. And what do we call that in English?
Simple past.
The simple past, exactly, right? So I blanked, it's just blanked, ed, right? Unless it's an irregular verb, because English is weird. Okay, any questions on this? All right, so in your work packet, let me turn up the brightness because I can't see. I'd like to go to exercise 20B. All right, so Ruth, can you read the directions for 20B out loud, please?
Read each incomplete sentence to yourself. Identify all the subjects and use the chart from your notes to supply the correct perfect tense endings for the verbs. Then read aloud and translate.
Good. Okay, so we're definitely going to be translating, but essentially, what is this exercise asking you to do? Yep, use the perfect tense endings that we just talked about. All right, and in case we've forgotten them, we'll put them up here. Okay. I think that's it, yep. Okay, so number one, can I have somebody, let's talk through this. Let's read through this incomplete sentence, okay? Just glaze your eyes over it from the front all the way to the end. Actually, take it just to the semicolon for now. We'll do the second half in a moment. All right, now we've got to supply the correct ending here on petive. How do I know what ending I need? There's a word in here that's going to hint. Ego. What is ego?
I.
Means I. So what's the person and number of I?
One.
First person, and is it singular? Yeah, first person singular. Okay, so what ending am I going to supply here? Yeah. Okay, petit, oui. Okay. In the second half of the sentence, okay, this chunk here, we need to supply the ending on in when. Is there a typo there? No, there isn't, sorry. What word is going to tell me what I need? To, and to means you. So what's the person and number? Second singular. So my ending is going to be, yeah, invenisti.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, this isn't terribly crazy.
Wait, I have a question.
Sure.
So how come you can add the ending if like N isn't part of like the tense marker?
Because it's slightly irregular.
Okay.
Yeah, so just real quick, y'all ever heard Julius Caesar when he said this? I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh,
Weini weedy wiki. Have you seen that before? Okay. What's cool about this, it's technically, it could be a sententia if you want it to be, right? People say this all the time. Okay. Weni comes from venio venire. It means I came or I arrived. Okay. Vidi comes from video videre vidi visus, to see. So I came, I saw. And wiki, I think it's winko winkere wiki victus. Okay, to conquer. So I came, I saw, I conquered.
oh. I think totally about it.
Probably. So if you look, this sententia uses 3 examples of perfect tense verbs that do not have V suffix as a marker. Okay, so like I said before, there are a couple that don't have it, and that's why I would prefer you to just know your principal parts. But if you don't, this will help you. But in cases like this, it wouldn't necessarily help you. But what's cool about this sententia is that each one is an example of the perfect tense. Okay. So you learned something about Caesar. Actually, I should pull up a meme later. There was a picture, if you can imagine it, like a little Lego Coliseum someone built, and there's a cat sitting like right in the middle of it, and the caption reads, "I came, I saw, I fits, I sits." Yeah, I'll have to.
Which Lego Coliseum is it?
Huh?
Is it from the set? Because I have the set.
I don't know.
Because Lego recently came out with this Coliseum that is set, but I'm still working on the Sydney Opera House, so I'm gonna do that next.
Oh, so it's just a bunch of like old, not old. It's a bunch of architectural, famous things, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. All right, so let's translate. Ego liberos. Sorry, I'm going to have you read that, not me. Who'd like to read that Latin out loud? David.
Ego liberis in horto fativi to eros in sua invenistum.
Good. Okay, so the first chunk. Who would like to translate that? Anyone want to give it a shot?
What does liberos mean?
Okay. Peto, petere, petivi, petitus. To seek. Okay.
Wait, does the second word, what? I seek the children in the.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, let me just double check one thing. Liber. The only reason I have the ambiguity is because I think. Oh, never mind.
Libero means child.
Yeah. But then what's the word for freedman? Right?
It was
Liber. Okay, sorry. It's libertus. It has a T. This one does not, so it's the children one.
You know, like the position in volleyball where the shortest person takes
The libero, yeah.
Is that child because like that person's short?
It's not always the shortest person.
I don't know. I don't know if that's related. I should look that up. That's funny. Maybe it is. Okay, the libero. Funny. All right, so I seek. Oh, sorry. I seek or I sought. Yeah, I sought children. Yeah. It might sound weird, better if I say the children, right? Because it's not. I seek children in the garden, like any child will do. Give me your children. Like that's really weird.
Why said that? That was so funny.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just quit my job and do voice acting.
I saw someone who said that like I once went to daycare and the guy next and I was talking to the guy next to me and the guy was like, and I asked him who's your child and he's like, I don't know, I haven't decided yet.
It's like that.
That's terrifying. I know.
That's really scary. Have you guys seen Shrek? Shrek 2?
No.
Where like Fiona has a baby shower or whatever, and each princess gifts her like a thing. Snow White gifts her one of the dwarves, and he's like dressed up as a nanny, and he goes, and like every time they pan over to him, he's like, "Where's the baby?" Like he's gonna watch the baby. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, it's a great movie, cinematic experience.
I've never watched any of the Shrek movies.
Miss Slade.
I guess we're gonna have to fix that.
Miss Slade.
Yeah.
When I was like 4, my mom wouldn't let me watch Shrek because she was like, it's gonna give me nightmares, it's scary, blah blah blah. And I asked my dad to turn on the TV, and he did, and Shrek was playing. And I was like, oh, I want to watch it. And he was like, sure, whatever. And then him and my brother walked away, right? And I started crying because it was terrifying. Because I think it was like the Halloween special or something.
Oh, jeez.
But it was so scary. And then they came back and they were like, what is going on?
I feel feel like it would have been a good idea to have kids watch Shrek because it would prepare them for the Lord Farquaad haircuts that have somehow come back into fashion. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh my
Someone in
God.
this school that has it.
Wait.
Don't worry about it. Okay, so I saw the children in the garden. Tu eos in sila invenisti. So invenio invenire, to find, right? So when you invent something, you discover something, you found it. Okay, so
What does Eos mean? It's me. It's mine.
you found eos. Comes from is ea id, he, she, or it, but it's accusative. So you found, how do you say accusative? Them. Yep, you found them. Where? Yep. Good.
This does sound
Yeah, this sounds like the opening to a folktale. I sought the kids in the garden, but they were in the forest, talking to the birds.
That's concerning.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Sorry. I gotta reel that in a little bit. All right, number 2. Just glaze your eyes over it. This one is a full sentence. And that rooster's gonna drive me nuts. Okay, so this has like two kind of almost two clauses. All right, and that's indicated by ubi. What does ubi mean, everybody? Where? Good, we remember now. Yes.
Can I close the window?
Yes, you can close the window.
Is this semper where?
No, semper's always.
Semper's always.
where.
Semper ubi sub ubi. Always where, under, where.
Oh.
Ah,
Semper
yes.
ubi sub ubi.
Okay, ubi can mean where. It can also sometimes mean when. I think here it's going to mean when, though, and you'll see why in a moment. Okay, so in this second half of the sentence, what tells me what the ending is going to be on my verb? Nos and omnes. Yeah, both of those two things are going together. So nos, omnes. Nos, who is nos?
Us.
Us. So what person and number is that?
Plural.
Second.
First.
No, first.
Us, first person plural, right? Because remember, if I am included in that, that's first person. If it's you, or like y'all, it's a step away, you're not really included, but you're close enough to like talk to somebody, that's second person. If it's he, she, it, or they, they're like far removed and we're talking about them, so it's third person. So like the further away you get from yourself, that's how person works. Does that make sense? Kind of. Okay, so nos omnes, first person plural. What do we got? Ris. Imus, yep. Emus. Just kidding, that's not what that says. Okay. So, ubi tunica sexti in ramis haerebat nos omnes risimus. Okay, so when the what? What's the tunica? The tunic of whom? Good. Haerebat was
Sticky.
good. Was sticking. We'll say in. We can say to the ramis.
Branch?
Branches. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, you're doing fine. Nos omnes risimus. What did we do? Ride. Yeah, laugh. We all laughed.
Are we making fun of sexters?
Okay. Now, question. Haerebat and risimus. Okay, those two verbs in this sentence. All right, they're both different tenses. Correct? Okay. What's the difference between these two? Like, what tenses are they? Imperfect and perfect. Good. So one is continuous action. Haerebat was sticking, right? So it kept sticking to the branches and continuously did so. right? But we laughed once and it was done. Ha! Finished. Because people do that.
This kind of reminds me of when Marcus was making fun of sexist for like looking at the vehicles, and Marcus was like, "Are you stupid?"
Are you dumber than a pile of bricks? He said. Okay. Whoops. Next, number 3. Let's read through, just look over the Latin quickly in that sentence. All right, now in this exercise, identifying the subject is helpful. Do you need more tissues?
Oh no, I was just gonna recycle.
Oh, okay. I dig it. Recycling is good. All right, so quo iit Cornelia, ego et Marcus patrem hoc rogav blank, sed ille nihil respond blank. All right. In the middle part of the sentence here, who's my subject?
Me and Marcus.
Ego and Marcus. So is that going to be first person singular or first person plural? Plural, right. Okay. So what's my form going to be? Imus, good. Okay, and then sed ille nihil respond. Yeah, responded. Okay, what's my subject here? Ille, good. And what does ille mean? Yeah. It literally means like that that man or that guy. Okay, good. So let's translate this. Quo iit Cornelia. Now, real quick question. Quo here, it ends in an O and that O has a macron. What case could that be? Annabelle will know this one. It's a vowel with a macron. What case is that? Ablative, yeah. Okay, so it's asking, quo essentially means like, to where did Cornelia eat it? Right, so it's simply asking where. Does that make sense? Kind of? Like an ablative of place-ish. Okay, so where did Cornelia eat it? Coming from eo ire, iwi itus, good, to go. So where did Cornelia go? Question mark. Ego et Marcus. Marcus and I. Rogavimos. Sorry, rogavimos. What do we do? If you're interrogating somebody.
You research or like looking into.
Yeah, you're asking. Yeah, so Marcus and I asked, the patrem, father, good. So Marcus and I asked father, hoc, this, yeah. Said, ille, that man, or he,
Do you know who's phone?
yep. Whoops.
That's slightly creepy. All these sentences are mildly creepy.
Yeah, they are kind of creepy. Okay. Maybe we'll do one more together and then I'll set you guys free to do some on your own. Actually, here's what we'll do. I think we'll do one more together and then I'm going to do something. We're going to do something else. Yeah.
For perfect, can you translate it with have? Like, Marcus and I have asked Father this.
Okay, so that's a great question. And the way you said it, Marcus and I had asked this, but that man did not respond. In English, excuse me, that is correct. That is more correct. You're using proper tenses with respect to time. In Latin, it would be more proper to say that also, but that would require a different tense. That would require the pluperfect tense.
Or have.
Oh, have asked? Can you do it that way?
Because I used to translate with like have and then the ed.
Let me see.
And then pluperfect is had.
Let's see. Yeah, I suppose you could. Right, so in the present tense, you could say like, I ask, I did, I ask, I do ask, or, yeah, I guess that's it. And then in the perfect, you could say like, I have asked, I did ask, or I asked. Yeah, so I guess have is okay. Yeah, I thought you said had, sorry.
That's it.
Okay. Great question though. Okay. Quamquam sextus fuit molestus servi eam non verberav blank. All right. Who is my subject in the second half of the sentence? Servi. Okay, so what person and number is that going to be? Third person plural. So verberav erunt. Very good. Okay. So let's translate. Quamquam just means although. It's a weird adverb and whatever. I mean a conjunction rather. Okay, so although sextus fuit molestus. Although what? Sextus Yep. So although Sextus was annoying, the servi non verberaverunt eum. The slaves did not verberare.
Smack him.
To beat. Yeah. The slaves did not beat him. Okay.
The slaves are playing the Uno reverse card.
All right, quick question for y'all. What kind of verb is fuit? Is it an action or a linking verb? It's a linking verb. If I wanted to say Sextus is annoying, what would I say? What's the word for Sextus est molestus? What if I wanted to say Sextus was being annoying?
Was being.
The word fuit would change. What would it become? How would I make it imperfect? Do you remember? Unfortunately, because it's an irregular verb, it would just have to be a memorization of forms. Yeah, because the second principal part is esse, but it's not gonna. Yeah. It would be erat. That's how you would say Sextus was being annoying. I don't think we've talked about the future, but in case you were curious, it would be erit. Sextus will be annoying. Yeah, it's weird. But okay, so as long as you know that that's just that fuit is the perfect tense, right? And it kind of looks like that's why I say that the perfect tense is easy, right? Because even in a regular verb like sum esse fui, right? Okay, fuit. It's like that part of it works out very neatly. right? Essay is kind of weird because essay becomes est and eram and ero. So it's there's a change that happens there, but the perfect tense is super easy. Yeah.
Can I go do that?
I suppose so. Good luck.
What?
Okay. Any questions on kind of how to do these? Okay, I think these will be part of your homework, but I would like to go over something else now, if that's okay.
Will you post it on the forum?
Yep. That's my New Year's resolution, to be better about posting it more timely. Okay, so to continue your grammar notes from before, where did I put those? All right, this is going to be a little bit of a new topic. All right, subordinate clauses with dum. Dum. Let me add a page because I know I'm going to run out of space. Sweet. All right, so to kind of get started here, let's talk about a clause. What is, in English, what is a clause?
A sentence with the subject and complete.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so clause, a grammatical unit, we'll call it. Yeah, we'll just call it that because it doesn't necessarily have to have other things. Okay, now there are two types of clauses that we can have. Do we remember what those two types are? Standalone.
Independent clause.
Yes. Okay, so we have independent, or sometimes what we call main clauses. And that's a clause that can stand on its own. With a subject, consisting of a subject and a verb. Okay. And what's the other type of clause that we've heard of? There's independent clause and also a dependent, yeah. Also known as subordinate. Okay, and those are clauses that needs the support. Yes. Need support of main clause. Okay. Now the reason I'm mentioning these, I guess, kind of grammar terms now, is because we're about to talk about a specific type of subordinate clause. Okay, it's called a doom clause. Okay, not doomer than a pile of bricks, but doom as in while, or as long as.
It's kind of like while.
Right, so in English, I might say, while the teacher was talking, the students ran into the field. Could I say by itself, while the students were talking? Does that sound like a complete independent main clause? Can it stand on its own while the teacher was talking? No, it sounds like it needs more. But could I say the students ran into the field? Is that a pretty clear sentence on its own? Yeah, okay, so that's just an interaction between two sentence types. I'm sorry, two clause types, independent and dependent. Okay, so let's change color here for just a second. All right, so dum is a conjunction. And it means while, as long as, or until. Okay, so whenever you see a clause that starts with dum, what kind of clause is it going to be? It's going to be a subordinate clause. Okay, that's an easy trick to remember. All right, so let's look at an example. Okay, dum Cornelia Canon. Oh, sorry, that should be Cana. Okay, so the first, we've essentially got two clauses here. All right, our first chunk is dum Cornelia Cana, and the second chunk is miles fabulam narrat. Right, and we know that. How many verbs do we have in this full sentence? Two. So how many clauses do we have? Two. Okay, now the trick is figuring out which one's which. Which one's my main and which one's my subordinate? Good. This one's our main clause, which means this one is our subordinate. Okay, and what's going to help us identify the subordinate, by the way? What word is going to clue us in that we've got a subordinate clause? Dum. Yep. All right, super helpful. Okay, so let's translate this one. While Cornelia Canat, what was she doing? While Cornelia, yeah, well, what's present? So while Cornelia eats dinner, or while she dines, the miles narrats a fabulam. The soldier tells a story. Okay, so you see how that interacts, how you've got a main clause that can stand on its own and a subordinate clause that's just needs the support, right? Because I could just say the soldier tells a story, right? That sounds like a complete thought. Okay, but could I say while Cornelia eats dinner and just have it like that, hanging? No, right? So that should indicate to you that something's missing, that it's a subordinate, it needs support. Okay, any questions on this? No? Okay. So here's my question. Look at the two verbs. What tense are they both? They're both present tense. Now think of the translation. While Cornelia eats dinner, the soldier tells a story. Are those things happening at the same time?
Yes.
So the tenses have to be the same.
Okay, let's try another example.
Can they not be the same, or do they have to be?
They don't have to be.
But there's a lot of.
Let's see. No, they don't have to be the same. All right, let's take, yeah, because if I were to change this and make it imperfect, I could say, like, while Cornelia was eating dinner, the soldier was telling a story, right? So both of them are happening at the same time, but in the past, but continuously so.
Can you say while Cornelia was eating dinner, the soldier told a story?
You could, but that would do something different. We would need two different tenses, and it would change a little bit about the time relationship. And that's what I'm trying to get at. Because there is an interaction between the two verbs. It indicates a temporal relationship, whether the action happens before or after, or at the same time as. So it's a little tricky, and it's kind of technical. And some of you might not get it right away, and that's okay. I don't want you guys to freak out. It will click though. Okay, Tiff.
Wait, but what happens if one of them has like a present tense and the one has a past?
We're gonna do an example. Okay. Dang it, and I ran out of room. I'll keep it over here because it's separate. Okay, if you can fit it all in one line, that's great, but I wrote sloppily and couldn't, so sorry. Okay, so our sentence, dum puericibum devorant, subito intravit miles quidam. Okay, now, devorant. What tense is that?
Present.
Good. Okay, so let's label that. Okay, and intrawit, what tense is that?
Past.
Specifically what?
Singular, third person, past.
I think it's.
What type of past? It's got a V in it, which is V sucks. What tense is that?
Perfect.
Perfect. Yep, exactly.
So
Yeah, what's
is
up?
that last word quidam?
Quidam, yeah, Quidam. Sorry,
So
my handwriting's not the greatest.
Oh, wait, that is.
I've never seen that word before, I don't think so.
It's okay, it's a weird word, but it just means a certain. Okay, so now let's translate. While the pueri devorant cibum, while the boys devorant cibum, what are they doing? Devour, yeah. So while the boys devour dinner. Subito. Suddenly, good. Quidam miles, a certain soldier. Intrawit, what did he do? Entered, good. Okay. So the dum clause, that's what we're going to call this, right? From dum to devorant, this is our dum clause. All right, but just know that a dum clause is a subordinate, it's a type of subordinate clause. So the dum clause describes an action that is happening when? When? So the devouring is happening now. Now, it's a little weird because in Trowit, even though it's a perfect tense, right, and the perfect is the past, what is it indicating? Are the boys eating the dinner and the soldier, like, entered while they're eating dinner?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Which is weird, right? It's weird if you think about it. Right, so why is one a present tense and why is one a past tense? Like, how can you, and they're happening kind of at the same time. Okay, think of it this way. While the boys are doing the thing, like that devouring of the dinner is happening, and then in a single instant, right, a single completed action moment, the soldier enters. So they are happening contemporaneously at the same time, even though the tenses are different. Okay, but because it's perfect, remember, perfect is single completed action, done, one and done. Whereas the present is kind of acting as this like spectrum of time, right? So they're having a meal, and at a certain instant during that meal, the soldier entered briefly, suddenly. Does that make sense? Okay, so tense is a little weird in Latin. It's not always like as cookie cutter as you might think, right? There's a bit of a like temporal relationship between tenses in sentences. Does that make sense though? Right, so if you sit down and think about it, it kind of makes sense. So let's just write a couple takeaways here. So this is where Latin and English kind of differ. I know we have like 3 minutes left, sorry. Okay, so one big takeaway is that a dum clause is a type of subordinate clause. Okay. Another takeaway is that clauses interact with the time spectrum. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that I'm trying to like sum up what we just talked about. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. So even though it would make sense in this previous sentence, like while the boys, it would make more sense if I were to say while the boys were devouring dinner, right? Doesn't that sound better? Like it makes sense, like more of a continuous action, right? But that means we would expect an imperfect tense there. But for whatever reason, Latin doesn't do that, okay? So even though you might anticipate an imperfect, it's going to be present, but understand that the present can sometimes mean continuous action in this particular instance. Okay, so this is our takeaway. In a dum clause, all right, so those are our 3 big takeaways for today. Okay. All right, so what I'd like you guys to do for homework, I'd like you just to finish up those 5 sentence frames that we were working on before, exercise 20B, I think it was. All right, I will post this on the portal, by the way.
So,
Okay.
basically just to add the ending and then translate.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, figure out what ending you need and translate. And I'd also like you guys to study your chapter 20 vocabulary. All right, we're gonna have a short 5-question quiz. 5 questions on Thursday. Right, so just 5. I'm gonna pick 5 of those vocab items from the chapter 20 list. Just 5.
Out of those
Oh, it's just
30.
Just 5 vocab.
Just 5 vocab. Yep.
Wait,
Is that gonna count as less score though?
Including words and phrases. But once we move past this chapter, I won't expect you to know them.
Okay.
Can you post that on the portal too?
Yep, I'll post that on the portal too.
So is it like fill in or matching?
You just it'll be fill in,
Oh, so you give us the Latin and we fill
and you
in
just
the
write what it
English.
means.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm only gonna pick 5 of them
Okay.
from the whole list.